For several moments, Lina remained beside the window. The glowing words continued drifting through the night. Silent, patient, almost as if they knew she was watching, almost as if they knew she had made her choice. Outside, the sleeping town stretched beneath the moonlight. The river of glowing words flowed above rooftops and chimneys. Hundreds of them, perhaps thousands, every word carrying a voice, every voice carrying something left unfinished. Lina's heart beat faster. This was impossible, ridiculous, the kind of thing that only existed in dreams. Yet she knew what she had seen. She knew what she had heard. The whispers were real, and somewhere beyond the darkness they were going somewhere, leading somewhere, waiting for something or someone. Lina pulled on her jacket. The decision had already been made. Now all she had to do was follow it. She slipped quietly from her room. The hallway was dark. Moonlight stretched across the floorboards like silver water. Family photographs lined the walls. Frozen moments from happier years. Birthdays. Vacations. Summer afternoons. One photograph made her slow down. Her mother stood in a field of yellow flowers, laughing. The sunlight caught her hair. For a second, Lina forgot about the words, forgot about the mystery, forgot about everything. The ache returned instantly, the familiar emptiness, the space that never seemed to close. Then she looked away and continued. At the end of the hallway stood her father's room. The door remained shut, no light beneath it, no sound. Sometimes Lina wondered whether her father slept at all, or whether he spent his nights awake, staring into darkness the same way she did, thinking thoughts he never shared, feeling things he never said. Their house had become full of silence. Not angry silence, not uncomfortable silence, the kind of silence that appears when two people miss the same person, and neither knows how to speak about it. Lina reached the front door. Slowly she opened it. The hinges creaked softly. She froze, waited, listened. Nothing. The house remained still. A moment later she stepped outside. The cool night air wrapped around her. The town seemed completely different now. Larger, quieter, almost magical. Above her, the river of forgotten words continued its endless journey. And for the first time, Lina followed. The streets were empty. Only the whispers remained, soft voices drifting through the air. "Forgive me. Come back. I miss you." The glowing words moved slowly ahead of her, like lanterns guiding a path through the darkness. Lina walked past quiet houses, past dark storefronts, past empty intersections. Every step took her deeper into the sleeping town, and closer to wherever the voices were going. The deeper Lina traveled into the town, the stranger the night became. Not frightening, not dangerous, just different. As if daylight hid things that darkness allowed to breathe. The river of words flowed steadily overhead, sometimes dense as a glowing cloud, sometimes scattered into drifting clusters, but always moving in the same direction, always flowing forward. Lina followed, past streets she had walked 100 times, past gardens, past fences, past places that suddenly seemed filled with stories she had never noticed before. A glowing word drifted toward a small house with a white porch. It slowed, hovered above the mailbox, then dissolved into golden sparks. Gone. A second word floated toward an old oak tree. It lingered among the branches, whispered something too soft to hear, then vanished as well. Again and again it happened. The words would leave the river, pause somewhere, then disappear, as though they had found something they were searching for, or remembered something they had forgotten. Lina began paying closer attention. Why did certain words stop? Why did others continue? What determined where they went? The questions followed her through the darkness. Ahead, the road opened into the town square. The old fountain stood silently at its center, dry, cracked, forgotten. The river of words flowed around it like water around a stone. Then something unusual happened. One glowing phrase drifted downward, slowly, deliberately. It settled above a wooden bench beneath a tree. Lina stopped. The phrase glowed softly. Its whisper became clearer. "I miss you." The words hung there for several seconds, almost waiting. Then the glow faded. The phrase dissolved into tiny particles of light. Gone. Lina crossed the square. Curiosity pulled her forward. The bench looked ordinary. Old wood, peeling paint, nothing special. Yet something about it felt important. She knelt beside it and noticed a small brass plaque, almost hidden beneath years of weather. She brushed away dust. The inscription became visible. "In loving memory of Thomas Green." Lina stared, then slowly looked back toward the sky. The river continued moving. What if the words weren't wandering? What if they were returning to places, returning to memories, returning to people? The idea sounded impossible, yet tonight, impossible things kept happening, and somehow, this explanation felt right. The words were not lost. They were searching. The realization sent a chill through her. Above her, another phrase drifted past, then another, then dozens more. The whispers blended, thousands of unfinished conversations moving through the darkness. A river made not of water, but of memory, and somewhere ahead, something was calling them forward. The farther Lina walked, the older the town became. The houses grew smaller. The streets grew narrower. The lanterns became fewer. This was the oldest part of town. Few people visited it anymore. Many buildings stood empty, their windows dark, their paint peeling, their stories forgotten. The river of words seemed drawn to this place. The glowing current thickened overhead. The whispers grew stronger, not louder, just closer, as if the distance between the voices and the world had become thinner. Lina continued forward. The old district felt different from the rest of town. Older, heavier, as though it remembered things everyone else had forgotten. Then she heard something unexpected, a laugh, a child's laugh, brief, distant, gone immediately. Lina stopped. The street was empty. No children, no movement, no sound, only the drifting whispers. She listened carefully. Nothing. Perhaps she had imagined it, yet the sound had felt real, very real. She continued walking. A few moments later, she heard something else. Footsteps. Not hers. Someone else's. Behind her. Lina turned instantly. The street stood empty. The lanterns flickered softly. Shadows rested against ancient walls. No footsteps. No person. Nothing. Her heart beat a little faster. For the first time that night, unease touched her curiosity. Someone had been there, or at least she thought so. The river of words suddenly dipped lower, almost close enough to touch. One glowing phrase drifted directly in front of her. Its golden light illuminated her face. For a moment she could read it clearly. I waited. 3 simple words, yet they carried years of sadness, years of hope, years of disappointment. The phrase drifted onward, vanishing back into the glowing current. Lina watched it go, then froze. A light burned ahead. Not a glowing word, a real light, warm and steady. At the end of the street, she frowned. At this hour, the entire town should have been asleep. The light shone from an old building she recognized immediately, the watchmaker's shop. Its sign hung crooked above the door. Its windows were dusty. The business had been closed for years. Everyone knew that. The old watchmaker had died long ago. Yet a light glowed inside. Lina approached cautiously. The closer she came, the stranger the feeling became. The words overhead continued flowing. The whispers continued drifting. Yet somehow, all of them seemed aware of the building, as if it mattered, as if it belonged to the mystery. She reached the window and looked inside. The room beyond was empty. Rows of clocks filled the shelves. Large clocks, small clocks, wall clocks, pocket watches, Hundreds of them, every single one frozen, every single one stopped, except one, a small brass clock resting alone on a shelf. Tick, 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 the sound echoed through the empty shop. Lina stared. Something about it felt wrong. Not frightening, impossible. Then a glowing word drifted through the dusty glass, straight into the shop. The word circled the tiny brass clock once, twice, then vanished. Instantly, the ticking stopped. Silence filled the room. Absolute silence. Every clock stood motionless. Every shadow became still. Lina's breath caught, and somewhere far away, a bell rang. Dong. The sound rolled through the darkness, ancient, heavy, unmistakable. The river of words reacted immediately. The glowing current began moving faster. Every phrase, every whisper, every drifting memory, as if something had awakened, as if something had called them, and for the first time all night, the words no longer seemed lost. They seemed to be hurrying somewhere. Lina stood motionless outside the watchmaker's shop. The bell's echo faded into the distance, yet the feeling remained. Something had changed. The town itself seemed to know it. Above her, the river of forgotten words flowed faster than before. The glowing phrases no longer drifted lazily through the darkness. Now they moved with purpose, as though every word had suddenly remembered where it belonged. Lina stepped away from the window. The watchmaker's shop was dark once more, silent, empty. Yet she could not shake the feeling that she had witnessed something important, something connected to the words, something connected to whatever awaited ahead. She followed the river. The streets twisted deeper into the oldest part of town. Ancient stone buildings leaned toward one another. Narrow alleyways cut between weathered walls. The shadows seemed thicker here, older. The whispers grew stronger, not loud enough to understand, just enough to feel surrounded. Thousands of voices, thousands of unfinished stories, thousands of forgotten moments. Then she heard it again. Footsteps behind her, closer this time. Lina spun around. Nothing. The street stood empty. No movement, no sound, only the drifting words. For several seconds she stared into the darkness, waiting, listening. Then she saw something, a figure, far away, standing beneath a lantern, motionless, watching. The distance made it impossible to see clearly. Young or old, boy or girl, friend or stranger. All Lina could see was a silhouette. The figure seemed to be looking at the river, then at her. A cloud drifted across the moon. Darkness swallowed the street. When the moonlight returned, the figure was gone. Lina's heart pounded. This time she knew she had not imagined it. Someone else could see the words. Someone else was following them. The realization changed everything. Until now, the mystery had belonged only to her. Now it felt larger, older, shared. The river flowed onward, and slowly a shape began rising above the rooftops ahead. Tall, dark, impossible to ignore. At first it looked like a shadow, then a chimney, then something much larger. Stone walls emerged from the darkness, broken windows, ancient architecture, a narrow silhouette reaching toward the stars. Lina stopped. She knew that building. Everyone in town knew it. The old clock tower, abandoned for generations, ignored by almost everyone, avoided by many. No one ever seemed to explain why. Yet tonight, the answer stood before her. The river of forgotten words was flowing directly toward it, not around it, not past it, toward it. Every glowing phrase, every whisper, every drifting memory. The entire river was heading for the tower, and suddenly, Lina understood. This had been the destination all along. The tower stood at the edge of a small, forgotten square. No houses surrounded it, no lanterns burned nearby, only darkness and the endless flow of glowing words. The tower felt less like a building and more like something waiting, watching, listening. The closer Lina came, the stronger that feeling became. as though the tower already knew she was coming, as though it had been expecting her, and somehow that frightened her less than it should have. The tower stood at the far end of the square, closer now, much closer. Lina could see every crack in its stone walls, every broken window, every scar left by time. High above, the frozen clock face stared out over the sleeping town. Its hands pointed toward an hour that no longer meant anything, an hour abandoned long ago. Yet the tower did not feel dead, not tonight. The river of forgotten words streamed upward toward one of the broken windows near the top. Every glowing phrase, every drifting whisper, every unfinished memory, all disappearing through that shattered opening, as though something inside was waiting to receive them. Lina stepped into the square. The whispers surrounded her now, thousands of voices layered together, not loud, never loud, yet impossible to ignore. The sound reminded her of the ocean, endless, ancient, filled with things hidden beneath the surface. She looked around. The square was empty, no houses, no lights, no people, only the tower and the river of words. For the first time all night, uncertainty touched her. What was she doing here? What if she turned around? What if she went home, back to her room, back to her notebook, back to the ordinary life she understood? The thought lasted only a moment, because deep down she already knew the answer. She couldn't walk away, not anymore. The mystery had become part of her, the same way grief had become part of her, the same way silence had become part of her. The tower held answers, and whether she liked it or not, she needed them. Lina approached the enormous wooden doors. They were taller than any doorway she had ever seen, dark with age, covered in cracks, bound with iron bands, stained by rust. She raised her hand. Her fingertips hovered inches from the ancient wood. Then, "Lina." The voice came from behind her. Soft, clear, impossible. Lina spun around instantly. The square was empty. No footsteps, no movement, no figure standing in the darkness. Nothing, only the drifting river of words. Her pulse raced. She knew what she had heard. The voice had spoken her name, not a whisper from the river, not one of the drifting phrases. Someone, or something, had called her. The tower stood silent. The square stood silent. The town stood silent. Slowly, she turned back toward the doors. The broken window high above glowed faintly with golden light. Word after word vanished into the darkness beyond it. Then the voice came again, closer this time, much closer, almost beside her. "Lina!" There was no threat in it, no anger, no warning, only certainty, as though whoever spoke already knew her, as though they had been waiting for her to arrive, waiting for her to follow the river, waiting for this exact moment. A chill moved through her, yet she did not step back. She did not run. Instead, she looked up, toward the broken window, toward the endless stream of glowing words, toward the darkness hidden beyond. And for the first time that night, the tower seemed to whisper back. Not in words, not in sounds, but in invitation. The doors remained closed. The mystery remained hidden. Yet somehow Lina knew the next step would change everything, and above her, the river of forgotten words continued flowing into the darkness, waiting.